Welcome to another edition of Driven to Lead. I'm your host, Wayne Brannon. In this program, we explore the real stories from key executives to find the leadership lessons that drove their success, whether in good times or bad. We got a great program for you today, so let's make it happen. Well, we're very happy to have with us today Mark Sommer from LA County, California. Mark is the CEO of Del West Engineering and the CEO of Gamma Alloys. Mark, how are you today?
I'm really good. I'm really good. It's kind of a gray California morning, but I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, we're getting some rain here in Naples, Florida. It's about time. It didn't rain all winter, so we're having a little bit of a gloomy day here as well, but all good. Like I like to say, most of the time the sun shines here, so we're very lucky. So really interested in your company and your journey as we get into this conversation today. Mark, I'd like to hear a little bit about Del West Engineering and the work you do. I think it'll be interesting for the audience because it's really kind of a unique lane for most people that we really don't think about.
So we are a precision manufacturer at heart at Del West, but what we're precision manufacturing is really cool stuff. And I guess that makes a bit of a difference for us. It's not to say somebody who's dealing in pipe fittings is not a really great person that's doing all sorts of wonderful things for society, but openly it's harder to get up in the morning on that. We are manufacturing for very high precision automobiles and for very high precision Swiss watches. And when I say high precision automobiles, I'm referring to Formula One, Indy, MotoGP, Le Mans, NASCAR, pick your favorite. And then super hypercars out in the field, or Lamborghini, McLaren, Ducati motorcycles. Our biggest customer at the moment for that is the Corvette Z06 ZR1. So call it the flagship of the GM line. I know you as an ex-GM guy would know those well. And our expertise is in valve train components. So that's the stuff at the upper end of the engine that opens and closes, lets the gas and air in, lets it out. And then on the Swiss watch side, that was a thing we went into about a decade and a half ago. And it was using the exact same technology that we use in auto, as funny as that sounds, because the common denominators these are very precise components made out of semi-exotic materials, need to be pretty because we're charging a bloody fortune for them.
Yeah.
And need to be repeatable, which manufacturing is everything.
So it's a combination of ultra lightweight, I expect, and ultra high strength, and the right features that are going to work in a high performance component, either on the engines, on the Swiss watches. You mentioned some of the car brands and some of the event vehicles that you work on. What about on the Swiss watch side? Do you have a few brands that maybe the audience might know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite certain the audience is going to know. I mean, the most famous would be Rolex, but the brands that are kind of, and I'm not going to say this anyway because Rolex is an insanely cool brand, so it's not to dig on them at all. But some of the ones that are still great but smaller, Panerai, I'm wearing a Panerai right now we worked on. IWC, Audemars Piguet, and then still smaller again, a brand called Singer. I mean, I keep going down the line, but sort of I can't give you an exact number of a sale price of a watch, but I mean, pretty basic stance. If the watch is selling for less than $10,000, we're not going to be involved in it.
Right, exactly.
And in a sense, we're the people they come to when nobody else can solve the problem.
Right. And I was just going to ask you that question in your business. Are you doing the engineering of the materials? I mean, using nanotechnology and those kinds of things to put a special alloy together and doing some integration work or design problem solving with the brands and the vehicles that you work with? Or are you doing both, or are you just mainly working on the materials?
It's a little bit of everything. It depends who you're talking about and what it is. We have
Yeah.
groups that they're like, here's a specification. We know you can work with it. We've been working with you forever. Just make it. And that tends
Yeah.
to be the most established of established. The earlier they are in the process, the more that we're going to get involved in design decision. That design decision can be a material. That design decision can be a tolerance, or it can be just simply a design philosophy for the part of the engine we're working on. Because you said it earlier, it's a combination of lightweight and light strength. And it's not like the strongest alloy or the lightest alloy. It's always going to be what is the sacrifice I want to make. Because ultimately, when you're dealing, and I'm going to move away from Swiss watches for a second because it's a slightly different market, but when you're talking about auto and whether it's a Formula One engine or just a car or motorcycle you're going to drive up and down the highway, ultimately you're trying to reduce friction because any amount of energy that's lost to friction is just lost. So they're trying to get these cars, motorcycles, whatever, to be at a higher and higher efficiency rate. And giving you some really gross numbers, the car you drive down the street struggles to get to 25% efficiency of the energy produced by that literally, sparked bam in the engine, or it's a diesel engine, just compression, all the way to the wheels on the road. A Formula One car is north of 50%. And that's only fairly recently. But it's an amazing, amazing stat. I mean, like, oh my God, so they're only at 50% energy made to energy used. Yeah, try and do that at home.
Yeah, exactly. That's a tremendous number. So when you're thinking about like the auto industry and where it's going, what happens when they move to electrification? Are there still some key parts in vehicles when vehicles become battery electric that you're going to be involved in?
I mean, there's some, we do work with Formula E, but honestly, it's really small. And kind of a note to the audience, the move to electrification, which I've been saying for years, is not going to happen as the press has designed it to, or politics has tried to make it seem. And I'm not making a political statement here, but rather the technology has some serious, I don't want to say drawbacks. That's not the right word. It has places where it's absolutely amazing. It has places where it has absolutely no purpose. So it depends what you're trying to accomplish, and there is no one best fit. There's everything and all. And in my perfect world, there'll be some significant portion of the cars on the road that are pure electric, some
Right.
significant portion that are pure gasoline or combustible fuel,
Yeah,
and
the vast
some
majority
parts
of
that
them
are
are.
hybrid.
Yeah.
There's some huge work being done in recyclable fuels called e-fuels. That's again something that Formula
Hmm.
One has made a huge kick out of for 26. I'm going to keep mentioning Formula One, but that is the top of the top in terms of
Right.
technology. And there's been some huge work done on better integration of electrical to gasoline engines. People look at it as gasoline engines are so dirty, it's so old technology. It's also the thousand monkeys at the thousand typewriters. I mean, we've gotten it really, really robust at this point. And I mean not point out the obvious, but when you drive down the road 30 years ago, you didn't want to be behind a truck. I mean, shoot, you didn't want to be behind a big car. Now you don't think twice. Windows down on the highway going
Yeah.
70 miles an hour. And you know what? The air smells as clean as it could be because we have figured it out and we're still getting better. The
Hmm.
other thing, and now I guess I will get a little political in saying this, is supply lines have become a really big thing in the last 3 to 4
Right.
months. And
Absolutely.
I don't need to be the one to throw cold water on batteries, but we all know where the rare earths are coming from, right?
Absolutely.
So
Big issue.
so
And
yeah,
and getting
so
those rare earths because of the type of mining that needs to be done is, very questionable in terms of how we look at that as well.
right. So, I mean, I want to state for the record, I own an electric car, so I don't want to come off as that person. But I also own a couple of really beautiful gasoline cars,
Right.
every all. And what I am seeing more and more and more is that the electrical cars are doing a better and better job of bringing down the amount of time it takes to recoup them. But again, stat from like 4 years ago, a Tesla model, I guess it was 100 at the time, the top of the line before they came out with the Plaid. The time to earn back the cost of building the car to gasoline, to a good gasoline car, was about 140,000 miles. Nobody
Right.
who bought a Tesla 100 was going to drive 140,000 miles.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it was a statement of look at me, I'm green, over look at me, I'm saving the planet.
Right. Well, you and I aren't buying or selling this morning on, ICE versus electric vehicles. There's certainly some benefits. I think electric propulsion is coming. How we get the power to the electric motors is evolving, I'd say. And there's some great things about electric cars. They're smooth, they're fast, they're high torque. They're high tech typically, and it's a really pleasurable driving experience. But there are still some anxieties that come along with them and some things that need to be solved. So, moving just to
But
further,
I'm gonna very quickly say the point of it was our business model
yeah,
looks quite good off into the future.
yeah, exactly. I think that's where we're headed. No doubt. It's just a matter of when, not if, right?
Right.
So, just to get to know you a little bit better, have you always been, an engineer working on, high tech materials? Is that kind of where you came out of the university and you're thinking, this is what I'm going to do? How did you get started in this?
Well, was not going to start out to be an engineer. I had other ideas, but I had sort of a bit of a epiphany when I was 20 years old that I was going to be an attorney, and decided that being an attorney, oh gosh, I was a super uninspired attorney. I was in California. There's enough competition with attorneys that are inspired in California. That's probably not a really good path. And I ended up in engineering because I had a meeting with a guidance counselor at college, and she told me that when I told her I think of being engineering, she said that's probably not a good place for you for a bunch of non-cyclical reasons. And the second she told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, I was 20 years old. I was in like full rebellion mode. I'm gonna be an engineer for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So yes, I became an engineer, and I actually did my master's thesis on combustion in a car engine as part of the U.S. car project. This is dating the hell out of me, but under Bill Clinton, there was an initiative where we were going to make a family sedan that was going to go 80 miles per gallon, back when that was kind of a hard thing to do. And I ended up getting assigned to a U.S. Department of Energy Argonne Labs out of
Mhm.
Illinois, and got some money from them, and so did my master's thesis on that. And once I was done with that, I had but one skill.
Yeah.
So
So was there, as a part of this, I mean, when you started out as an engineer, did you ever think you'd be leading a company? I mean, how has that leadership journey kind of evolved over time? Be interesting to hear about that.
yeah, I mean, I guess I always aspired to. I looked at engineering as a means to an end because I wasn't doing engineering as a lot of the engineers who work for me who love engineering. And this is like heretical to say, but I like being aware of what is going on around me on a technical basis. I would say not impossible, but difficult to lead the companies that I do without the engineering background.
Mhm.
But I would say that in terms of how I get from A to B, it is I decided that I wanted to make sure that I had a well-rounded base of who I was. I was a political science undergraduate for quite a while, and so I had quite a bit of
Yeah.
writing that I learned, which I would say to anybody who's in the sciences: learn how to write a letter, and don't count on ChatGPT to get you out of hot water. So learn how to write, learn how to communicate, and then the engineering background was sort of you talk about product differentiation a lot of time. That would be theoretically my product differentiation.
Yeah.
And my path to leadership is not quite as pure as I'm now trying to make it out to be, because at least Del West Engineering, the company we've been talking about, is a company that effectively was started by my father. So if I'm going to try and play it off like I climbed the ranks on my own, that would be an entirely unfair illustration of how it played out. With that, I think my leadership to my path to leadership is completely based around moving from thinking I was the smartest person in the room, or you know close, to realizing the power of others. And I started off with this concept of we need to out innovate everybody, and I'm going to lead the charge, and it's going to be great. I think I got some cheap traction in the beginning because auto racing, which is what we purely were when I started the company, was
Yeah.
growing very rapidly all through the 90s and the early 2000s, and hit a wall in my mid 30s as the Great Recession approached, as the car companies started all having trouble pulling out of racing, or at least diminishing their money
Mhm.
in. The rubber met the road, to use the analogy. And all of a sudden, it wasn't all boats rising in a rising tide. And I became aware of the fact that my version of sort of standard leadership, I was making 3-year strategic plans, and I was modifying them, and I was telling everybody, okay, you do A, you do B, you do C, you do D, like I'm some sort of general guiding an army. It was total bullshit. And came around to the concept that we were going to collaborate more, we were going to be more reactive, and
Mhm.
stop looking 3 years out. Because the one thing I can tell you about my 3-year plan, every 3 months I was having to move year two, forget about year three, because I wasn't able to stay on the path to year two. So yeah.
Well, that's not unusual. It has to be dynamic. All of our life plans, our business plans can be that way. So, in this program, I think as you know, Mark, what we focus on are the leadership lessons, and you've kind of really started to touch on that already. But it's interesting to hear from key executives like yourself what their stories are, that would highlight, some of the leadership learnings and some of the things that perhaps all of us can take away from that learning as something that would be sustainable and helping us in our own lives, in our own leadership journey, or in our business. So, do you have a story that you could share with us about when you overcame a significant hurdle, or with a business really turned a corner, where you captured a new piece of market share, something. Set it up for us. Let us kind of understand the background, and let's talk about that for a few minutes. Really be nice if you would share that with us.
Sure. I mean, I guess it goes back into what was going on into the Great Recession. If I'm going to go back to that period, sort of add on to this to the turn it into an actual story, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I was the head of the division at this point. The division was coming up on about 30 million at the time. Again, just sort of growth because all tides were rising. We had transitioned into serial production cars, KTM on the bike side, and Ducati, and then GM. Actually, it was the first job at GM.
Hmm.
And I was punching huge money because I had P&L responsibility into CapEx toward these projects because they were thinner margins, bigger revenue. Racing was like if you were a complete screw up, you were still going to make 10-20% on the bottom line. And it started eating capital. I had hugely smart people working for me, and they didn't like each other. And I was like, I think I just read that Lincoln biography, something of Rivals, the ones where he sets up his cabinet with people that are super smart but fight with each other. And I'm sure that was an amazing approach in 1860s US presidential cabinets, but it turns out in the 2000s manufacturing business in California, it's not the path to greatness. So the company was being torn apart by these guys who were all trying to prove they were right. Everything was a great debate society when we got together, and executing strategy was almost impossible. And I came around to something that I have now seen on a YouTube video like 7 times of a guy named, well, I don't want to mess up his name. It's Simon Sementik. I don't know. He does this beautiful, like 3-minute analogy about how it's better to have people of lower skill and higher trust so that you build as a team and you can really harness the power of team. So my big lesson to myself, and I'm not trying to say that people that I'm working with now are not very bright people. They are, but they also like each other.
Hmm.
And or at the very least respect each other.
I was
And
going
I
to say
think
mutual human respect is a foundational element, with a team to work together. Yeah.
and I learned it the hard way. And I wish I had
Yeah.
been a little bit, I wish I'd had, I could call it more insight, I could call it more guidance, I can call it, I don't know what. But it took me into my mid-late 30s to realize that having a bunch of smart people is fine, but if they're all running 7 directions, it does you zero value set.
So how did you rein this problem in? Did you work with them each one-on-one? Did you fire a couple of them? I mean, what happened?
Oh, over time, I did both.
Yeah.
I worked with them until I fired them down the line.
Yeah. So
And
you first attempted to get them to begin to collaborate, look at the company objectives as something that they needed to embrace, et cetera, right? And I'm sure you
yeah,
were giving everyone their
set of
voice.
plans, set
I'm
of
sure you were
plans,
giving
set of
everyone their voice to state what they thought was true, and then you were trying to debate it, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm giving you, I'm taking 3 years and I'm crunching it down to a very short
Yeah,
period of
sure.
time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had sets. It depends on how you look at the problem. I had people that had been there longer than I had been, in some cases, quite a bit of time, older than me, almost to a person. And I'm sure they saw that I believed in my own greatness, which at the time I probably did. And so, it was sort of a coming, God, I don't want to get too deep here, but coming of age,
Mhm.
realizing that I need people around me that see things the way I see them, versus simply I'm going to go. This guy's. And by the way, also I should state this: everybody was an engineer, absolutely everybody. And the reality is, engineers are really great at certain things. They're not great at everything.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely. So you have to
yeah.
use the people you're dealing with, right? And make it fit their style and bring the whole team together. So what do you say was the real turning point in making that happen?
Well, we ran out of money,
Yeah.
so
So it was a
we
do
we,
or
had,
die
we
situation. So it was
it
a
was
do or
do or
die.
die. It was do or die. I mean, this is 2009 at this point. GM is
Yeah.
committed to declare bankruptcy in short order over like 2 years. Honda, Peugeot, BMW, somebody else drop out of Formula One.
Yeah.
Dodge drops out of NASCAR. Ford and GM cut their commitments. Everybody dives out of the lower series because all the car companies are in just full survival
Sure.
mode,
Right.
and started having to punch money into the business to have it survive. I mean, I made 2 payrolls out of my checking account, which I didn't tell my wife at the time and would not have gone over well if I had. And so it's like you have this kumbaya moment. This is not working. and I don't want to go down with the ship. So, if you start saying, I'm going to make decisions that normally I'd be afraid to make. And I guess that's a really good lesson. If you're like, I should make the decision, but it's going to be too expensive, just make the decision. It's going to be way more expensive later.
Yeah, if it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do now. Right. In most cases, I mean,
Yeah.
there are exceptions, but yeah,
Oh, and when I
stepping
say
up to
fire, I
the,
would say fire. Some people left, of course. But
yeah, some people would leave. Yeah, sure.
yeah.
But I think it's important to communicate during these times as well. Did you share kind of the dire nature of where the company was with your leadership team and to get them to understand that they needed to start innovating, coming up with ideas, or downsizing the team was one of the obvious things that was necessary?
I mean, everybody was wildly aware.
Yeah.
From in 2000 in I'm doing in 2008 in call it January, no, let's call it late 2007 between Delwest and
Yeah.
Delwest Europe, because we have a facility in Switzerland we talked about. We were up
Yeah.
to around 200 and I don't know 50 people.
Mhm.
By the time we cleared into early 2009, we're down to 115 people. So I mean, it couldn't have been clearer that the company was in a full-on free fall. And at
Right.
least one guy left who was good. Not hindsight great, but good because of the free
Mhm.
fall. And I was like, oh my gosh, everybody stay. We did everybody gave back 10% of their salary for a period of time, which we gave back
Mhm.
when we got more profitable. But yeah, they were dire times. And I mean, every company has those periods of, I mean, maybe Facebook hasn't, I don't know. But most companies have that period where it's like, this just got real and I don't know what I'm going to do. But, generally speaking, I haven't been very good in my life in plan Bs and plan Cs. I mean, I'm kind of a plan A guy. And I just stay on plan A. I mean, what I mean by that is once we've made the decision to switch, you're
Mhm.
going. So I mean, obviously we were on one path in 2007. It was a different path in 2009. But once we switched to the new path, it was okay. We're going to go with a different style of leadership. We're gonna create a broader viewpoint in the leadership team. We'll create a broader viewpoint in the factory. I would spend a lot of time trying to tell the guys all the way down to the bottom of the line, all the business plans, because someplace I read that or got told that, and I was like, this is my thing. And then I realized that the C level or even one level below the C level, they really want to know what the strategic plan is. They want to be involved. They want to have
Of
input
course.
and they want to be able to course correct. But the guy on the floor, the woman on the floor, who's the technician doing the work, or the admin person who's entering the POs or whatever the position may be. And I don't mean to be degrading them, but there's more a desire to know there is a plan versus me get into the nitty gritties of we're going to do this operation on this day, and then there's going to be this, and then there's going to be that. I
Mhm.
mean, it was kind of like just I was the teacher in the Peanuts cartoon, just speaking away with the thing.
Yeah.
So I've come to a point where I want to make sure it is well understood. We have a plan. Happy to share high level concepts on it, but I'm not going to dig you deep into what is our flow path for factory reorganization in terms of cap equipment buy over the next 9 months. Like just, people's
Yeah.
heads just start
Of
spinning.
course. Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that you needed to come up with a viable plan. There was a little more collaboration in the senior leadership. You became more transparent in communicating it out to the organization, but not in so much detail down further in the organization that it wouldn't be relevant to them, right? So I think that's really key. Did you also put, when you said you came into a period where you were changing the leadership style. Was there something explicit that you did there in terms of like a company, values or some code of conduct or something that you instituted, or was it just like an understood kind of new way of doing things?
I'd love to say there was some big thing, but there wasn't. I think people saw that we had sort of blind confidence in our own direction, and that wasn't correct because we were a little bit the company. There's a thing like a stool can be stable with three legs, but nothing less. We were all in on this one leg of auto racing. We made a hubris decision to get into production without really understanding the capital that was going to be needed to do it. Hindsight 2020.
Hmm.
And we had, even as the recession started, we had all this equipment on order that was coming in, no money to pay for it. So it was that. So that's how we ended up getting into the Swiss watch industry. It was another leg under the stool. And recently we've gotten into aerospace again, another leg under the stool. So it
Yeah.
wasn't that we did this big, everybody, hey, we're changing. It was more the people in the company saw that we were truly committed to it. We weren't walking away from it.
Hmm.
They saw us absorb a lot of pain. They saw us knock down 2 or 3 steps, which I think probably made everybody a little more human and nice and fun and interesting to
Right.
be around. And we came out of it leaner and more profitable.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. So, I think it's really important to look at our own strengths and weaknesses. And a couple of times you you gave an indication that it was your own belief in yourself and perhaps other people not being so much aligned with you. It sounds to me like there was a change in Mark that happened, when the business got difficult. You could see maybe an end for the business. I mean, all of us, 2009 through 2011, we were acutely aware of the crisis that was going on worldwide and difficult to see how we were going to come out of it, right? And so, you had to change your plans. It was a necessity. But did you feel that you changed as a leader as well during that period? I mean, were you really, you weren't just saying you needed to, be more open and more transparent and more sharing, but you really had a fundamental change in yourself that you felt not only was necessary, but that felt right.
I definitely had a fundamental change in myself. And I suppose the biggest thing to come out of it, and this is so obvious, and you're going to like, not, of course, everybody picks this up at some point. But as you start realizing the easiest thing to do is not to invent everything yourself, but to network, get as many connections as you can. I'm not talking invite people on LinkedIn. I mean, truly create a
Right.
valuable network. Um, you start rapidly increasing and improving because you're exposing and bringing in so much more into the operation. So it's both not no longer me saying I'm going to channel downward into people that work for me or, take singularly from above, take it, execute, but rather back to the oldest thing. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So the biggest fundamental change in me, it was I need to desperately broaden my professional network. I need to harness the strengths of others, the skills of others, the
Mhm.
technology of others, the whatever you want to call it. And the fundamental change in me was that. And I think, I mean, I know I've certainly benefited from that. I think the companies have benefited from that because
Of course.
we're able to utilize so much more. And honestly, now when I get in trouble, I pick up a phone and call somebody or go visit somebody and say, "Hey,
Right.
this is where I am, and I'm in trouble. What the heck do I do?"
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's not an easy thing to do to literally change the essence of who you are to become the leader you need to be. So the circumstance drove you to it, but I give you a lot of credit for what you accomplished. As you think about, now you're in a growth period again, and you just got into the aerospace industry you mentioned. So, how are you going to stay current, stay fresh, and continue to grow the business? Will there be a need to migrate this leadership style, or is this something that the leadership kind of approach that you're taking, the collaboration, the networking, the transparency, all of the things that you mentioned, will those be a part of where you take the company in the next step, or do you think there's another level of evolution?
I don't know about the evolution part. I mean, I'd like to think we're always evolving, but it's hard to say what that evolving is going to be. I can absolutely say that we are really, really trying to focus in on succession planning at this point. And when I say
Hmm.
succession planning, I mean, yes, I'm about to turn 55, so in 2 days, I think. Yeah. So I
Happy
mean, I'm
birthday.
at that point where, and I'm being as nice as I can be about it. I guess I'm as dynamic as I'm ever going to get, and I guess I'm on that part of the curve where I've got to start living more off of my ability to bring in what I've already
Right.
got versus just run faster.
Right.
And I want to make sure that on all levels of the company, we are working toward what the company is going to be next.
Hmm.
It's a good group that I'm working with. I mean, some places were better than others, and some of them are going to see this. So, no, guys, I'm not going to say what that is. But we definitely are in a place where we have a strong group of people. I could say we could use some more support in certain areas, but we're strong.
Hmm.
And where the company really needs to work is to make sure it fully harnesses all the skills that it's got. I mean, we still struggle. We're still late on orders to customers. We're definitely not as efficient in our production as we could be. We kind of completely suck at marketing. I mean, we're still living in a world we have a really good product and people call us, and that's a nice move. But we can improve in our marketing. I think the guys women too, by the way, I shouldn't say that. In Switzerland are doing a pretty good job marketing into the Swiss watch industry. And so we're very attuned to what we need to change, and I suppose that'll create an evolution. I'm not entirely sure what that evolution is yet. Really wish I knew. That'd be awesome. Beat myself to the punch, but I am not sure at this point.
Well, that makes it exciting, right? You're going to posture yourself as best you can to be ready for that next thing. And as technology or the requirements for new products and services emerge, you're going to be ready to pounce on them. So I think you put yourself in a really good spot there. And I'm so happy that you've actually made this journey from where you were to where you are now. The way you described the former company and your former self is a very different thing than the way your optimism about where you are is now and the way you think about yourself. And I can see it comes across in the way you present it. So thanks for sharing that, Mark. It's actually very helpful because, the ego is a funny thing. We don't manage it as well as we should all the time, right? And sometimes
Truly.
it's one of the biggest blind spots we all have, right? I mean, I've shared the quote, I think, from Paulo Coelho, the Brazilian artist, before on this podcast. But for those of you who didn't hear it, he said the ego is the thousand-headed dragon we have to slay every day. And I always like that because it's not something you do and then it's done. It's a continuing journey for all of us, and being more aware of others and truly caring about them is a theme that comes up in this podcast discussion again and again and again. And it sounds like you've got some people you not only believe in and who have the right attitude to run your business, but it sounds like you like them and they like each other. And that was where you started this. You had a team of people who were great at what they did, but didn't like each other, right? And so, yeah, kudos for that. Really great. I ask these questions to every guest on the program as we start to move toward wrapping up this conversation. I kind of have a feeling you've already answered this one, but let me just get you to put it in words. First question is, if you had a piece of advice for your younger self about leadership, about running your company, about success in business, what would that advice be?
Oh, I mean, gosh, we all do that, right? I mean, wouldn't we all love to go back and rewind? I mean, pick 20 years, 30 years. I was go back to my
Yeah.
7-year-old self and get some advice. But that aside, um, I mean, I would certainly tell myself that you have to be a lot more aware of the interaction of others. So rather than worry about my relationship to person A, person B, or person C, I need to spend a lot more time worrying about person A and person B and person C and person C and person A. So creating a team that is not just going to work together well,
Yeah.
maybe while I'm in the room, although admittedly that wasn't even always the case. But when you leave the room, work well together, which I guess goes back into succession planning, right? You don't want a deal where you got to drive to the office 5 days a week, otherwise, all hell breaks loose. My standard line is you should be able to take a 2-week vacation, and not only does nobody curses you out while you're gone, because the whole thing, the second you leave, all the bad things come out. But like everything just chugs along. Like, make yourself non-indispensable. It's the old Good to Great book. I don't know if you've Collins.
Yeah, Jim Collins, yeah.
Level right. Level 4 leadership was Lee
Mhm.
Iacocca. Everything spun around
Mhm.
him. Level 5 is where you never heard of
Right.
the guy. I
Right.
mean, that's the aspiration.
Yeah, yeah, that level five servant leader is difficult to achieve. So, but I hear you. Yeah, thanks. I think that would be good advice. Whenever I think about a team, and I've had the great privilege to lead some really great teams. I think one of the things that happens when you're really achieving the highest levels of performance, you have to believe in each other and you really have to genuinely care about each other. And when you do that, when that human connection gets to that level and you're part of a team, it's not only about achieving the objectives, it's about really knowing that everybody's got their back. They're not going to badmouth them, if they're not around. They're going to work directly with people instead of, throughout the organization to try to accomplish objectives. So all of those things get fixed with a genuine approach level 5 leadership, as you called it, as Jim calls it. Um, okay, last question. So let's fast forward in the other direction. So 20, 30 years, let's say we're looking back on our careers and our lives, and we're in a beautiful spot somewhere in your neighborhood out there in California, and we're having a conversation. What are you going to tell me you're most proud of?
Hopefully that the people that work for me really did well, and I mean that all the way down the line. I mean, I want to see it's the old thing, I guess it's GE in a sense. You want to see that all these people have all gone on and they've all risen and taken over maybe heavy spot, either made OS into a much or Gamma into a much bigger version of themselves, and or if they left, are succeeding wildly to other organizations. So I mean, that's my top level line for the people that are directly reporting to me. Um, and just real success for anybody in the company. So we're pretty good on our benefits package. We pay almost entirely for the family and their health insurance because health insurance costs
Yeah.
a fortune. And you could call it a recruiting tool, but it's really about people doing better for themselves. And I'm building this into a quick story, and that'll tell you where I want to be in 20 years ish.
Yeah.
Um, we're looking at new software. I've been calling it payroll software, but it's the whole human resource package where you have recruiting and payroll and
Mhm.
benefits and all that garbage. And a group came in, good group, nice people, and they were talking about the ROI that they're going to give me. And so they're going, well, here's how you're going to pay for it. You're going to make money by doing this, by doing this, by doing this. And one of the points was, well, we can shut down the benefits faster by automating it. So when you fire somebody or they leave, we'll more quickly catch the fact they're on the roll and we'll get them off. And I kind of sat there and I went, that's not who I am. I mean, I really appreciate it, but I don't want to get them off the rolls faster. I just either ask them to leave the job or they left the job in a bad way, assuming they didn't go to another company and get immediate benefits. I don't need to save $1,400 on that. I mean, healthcare sucks in the United States in terms of paying for it, especially if you make $29 an hour. So let's let them stay on the healthcare for a month or three while they transition. So my 20-year version of myself or the conversation is, yeah, I want the guy who's currently my CTO or director of this or whatever. Sorry, spilled water. I always do at some point during everything. Um,
Yeah.
to be able to show true success, but I really want to see I want to see that the people working at the company, assuming that they're still there, assuming we're still thriving as a company, that everybody's doing well. I'm not looking to have 1 billion more people working for us. I would love to be able to use automation, use AI, use all of it so that we can grow
Sure.
as much as we can with existing people and pay those people more. It's a really nice outcome. So my 20-year thing is not about how big the business is. I kind of have enough money now. I mean, I'll take more. I'll take way more. Just want to state that. But rather that I look around and everybody around me is winning. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, isn't that a great thing? So, really enjoyed talking with you today, Mark, because what we've learned is basically this journey from where you were the center of the universe, and now your team and the people in your circle of influence are. So that's kind of an interesting journey that you shared with us, and I think a lot of people can appreciate that. And what I hear in your voice is I hear, the optimism of a leader who knows that you're going to do this together with the team you have, and there's probably very few things you couldn't accomplish as a result of the team you have and the approach you're going to take to whatever comes next. So thanks for sharing all of that. It's been great having you with us today. Really great.
Really appreciate the time to talk with you. It's been nice.
I look forward to staying in touch with you, maybe hearing about your journey going forward. And I hope great success. Wish you great success, continued success for Del West and for Gamma Alloys as well.
Thank you very
All the
much.
all
Appreciate
the
it.
best, Mark. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for being with us. If you like our conversations, please feel free to hit the subscribe and like buttons. And if you'd like to make comments, ask questions, or even explore being a guest on this program, you can reach out to us via email. It's Wayne@greatroad.com. That's WAYNE at GR8 ROAD.com. And until next time, always remember, the high road leads to a better place.